In 2016, with your support, Right to Be Free rescued 5 children: Kobe, Bright, Kojo, Kwame, and Elijah. This is the story of their rescue. It's early in the morning, and Eric Piazza, wearing the green shirt, sets off on a rescue mission on Lake Volta in Ghana. Lake Volta is the world's largest man-made lake, and it is where thousands of trafficked children work in the hazardous fishing industry. 3 law enforcement officers join Eric, and a volunteer who is familiar with the islands and communities on the lake drives the rescue and surveillance boat, which bears strong messages against child labor and child trafficking. The rescue boat comes across a fishing boat where 2 young boys are seen working. The rescue boat pulls up to the fishing boat so Eric and the officers can investigate. One of the officers leans over to talk to one of the trafficked boys. He asks, "What are you doing here, and who are you fishing for?" The little boy, whose name is Kojo, doesn't respond. Trafficked children are often too scared to speak for fear of being beaten afterwards. Another officer points to Kojo's leg, which is raised and examined as there is evidence of injuries. It's decided that the boys will be removed from the fishing boat. An officer carefully lifts Kojo into the rescue boat, and then the other boy, whose name is Bright.
Who is the boat?
You can see the apprehension in Kojo's face as he doesn't realize he's going to be free. As Kojo chews on some biscuits, you could see scars on the right side of his face, which he said were from beatings by his master. His legs also show scars from beatings and injuries that he sustained while fishing. Eric talks to Kojo to try and find out information about him. An officer translates since Eric does not speak his dialect, which is Ewe. Kojo is about 10 years old but looks much younger because he's so malnourished. He said his stepfather's children go to school, but he is given out to fishermen. He isn't fed well, and when he once asked for some rice to eat, he was beaten. In addition to fishing, he also works weaving cloth. Eric also interviews Bright with the officer. Bright is about 9 years old, and he said he goes to school, but since his family's very poor, he works during the summers to help pay for his school fees and supplies. This is his second summer working on the lake. He said he doesn't know how to dive underwater, but sometimes he's still forced to do so to untangle fishing nets. The officer shakes his head as he relays this to Eric. Many children have drowned when they become caught in the fishing nets. The rescue boat later approaches another fishing boat where they see a young boy working. The boy, whose name is Elijah, bails water from the boat until an officer leans in to remove him. Eric plays with Elijah to put him at ease. He asks, "Which candy do you want? A bag of lollipops or bubblegum?" Elijah hesitates, but finally chooses the bubblegum. Giving Elijah the chance to make a decision for himself helps to build his confidence and also trust with Eric. Eric has another surprise for Elijah. He tells him to close his eyes, and then he reaches into his bag and pulls out a toy. Eric asks Elijah where he's from, and he mentions the name of a village that neither the officer nor Eric has heard of. Elijah is about 10 years old, and when asked when he was trafficked, he said he doesn't know, but he was very small, probably when he was 5. Eric and the rescue team, along with Elijah, Kojo, and Bright, visit some boys who were rescued 2 years ago. You can see the impoverished conditions in which these children live, which makes their families vulnerable to traffickers who promise their children a better life. Peter, shown here with Eric, is an orphan. After his father died, his mother continued to care for him until she died 2 years later. His foster parent took Peter to Lake Volta to fish, so he had to drop out of school. 2 years ago, Right to Be Free rescued Peter when he was 14 years old, and he's now going to school.
What's your favorite subject in school?
My favorite subject was math.
It's math.
Yes.
Okay. What do you want to do when you grow up?
I want to be a teacher
Teacher. Why do you want to be a teacher?
because I like teachers because if it is not them, we cannot study and do something in future.
Fynn was only 7 years old when his father died. His mother was poor and struggled to care for him and his sister. Fynn attended school until 4th grade when his mother remarried. His stepfather's children went to school, but Fynn was forced to drop out and work 14-hour days to support his stepfather's children. Every time he asked his stepfather if he could go to school, he was beaten. He finally tried to run away but was caught and severely punished. During one of Right to Be Free's anti-child labor and child trafficking awareness programs on Lake Volta, the chief and elders of Fynn's village informed Right to Be Free of his plight. Together with social welfare, Right to Be Free rescued Fynn 2 years ago when he was 14 years old, despite a tough battle with his stepfather. He lives in his shelter and attends school and visits his family during school breaks. Eric asks Fynn what he did when he was fishing. He said he worked from 6 a.m. until 6 p.m. and didn't have anything to eat. And when they would return, he would ask to eat something, but he was not allowed, so he developed stomach ulcers. Fynn said when he would ask if he could eat something before returning to work again, his stepfather would say no and would beat him. When asked, "How did you feel when you were rescued by Right to Be Free?" Fynn answers,
I was so happy and I was so better that I'll end up with a good example.
Okay. So, what have you a good example for
others to follow.
follow? Okay. So, what do you like best about going to school?
I like best about going to school because I want to study to do something to do something better in my future.
Better in your future.
When I grow up, I want to be artist, and especially what I like most is football.
Fynn talks to Kojo, Bright, and Elijah and tells the young boys they are now safe and free and they can go to school and become whatever they want to be. It's 1:30 in the morning and the rescued boys, after a long journey from the lake, arrive at the rehabilitation center. The boys sit down at the tables while Eric talks to the staff who have been waiting for their arrival. The older boy, Kwame, is 14 years old and was also rescued during this trip. Originally from Togo, after his mother died, he was trafficked from Nigeria to the Ivory Coast, to Cotonou, Benin, and finally Ghana. The boys are fed a warm meal, the first of many as they begin the rehabilitation process.
I thank those who support me, life to be free, that may the good Lord to help them in whatever they are doing, so that they will be continue helping children to be bright in their future. Thank you.
I want to thank my benefactors and benefactors because they are taking care of us, paying our transportation from school to home, home to school, and paying our school fees, sewing our school uniform for us, buying books, buying shoes, and take care of us that we eat and take bath well and all these things. Thank you. May God bless you for all your days in your life.